Good evening. Thank you for taking the time to come together this evening. This is a very uncertain time we're living in, and we are a community that has proven over and over that we can work together to do what's best for all of us and those around us. Right now, though, we find ourselves giving way to stress and unsure of what our next steps should be. We have to be careful to remember that we are one holy Catholic community. We do not need to choose sides or draw lines. We need to seek to understand, to learn, to listen, and to determine what's best for each of our families and for our community. And that's my goal for us as we work through this plan tonight. So I'd like to start with a prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Dear God, we pray for our school, our children, parents, faculty, and staff. We ask for your help in being the light in every place you have given us to walk. Give us care and wisdom as we live and work with one another. Help us to look to one another's needs before our own, and to always serve those around us by the power of your love within us. For the times we feel confused or uncertain, give your joy, Lord, your grace, and your powerful presence of your peace. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. So before I begin to describe our plan, I just want to let you know that this plan was developed in collaboration with many people. The faculty was very involved. All of our teachers had input. They provided ideas. They had a lot of conversation around what this should look like, and they were able to see this plan and give a nod, yes, that this is what they want to do as we move forward. Our staff, our faculty and staff both were involved. Our advisory council had the opportunity to work with me through developing this plan. And prior to that, we worked with a task force across the Archdiocese that had representatives from the health community, from the Department of Health, from communications, from the clerical side of our work. And so we feel like we've had a lot of input in getting this put together and think it's a really sound and good plan. So I'm excited to share it with you tonight. So as we get started, I just want to review the agenda with you. First is that we opened with a prayer, and then I'm going to review what did we talk about last time we were together so I can tie that together for you, to look at what is the planning for what planning has been put in place, and mostly really the safety measures that have been put into place, and the preparation, and then talk about opening a school. What are the procedures, policies, and expectations as they relate to COVID-19 and keeping our children safe? We'll have time for questions and comments, and thank you to everybody who sent in comments or questions prior to the presentation. If we feel like we answered those, we probably are not going to repeat those, but if we didn't, feel free to type them in again and we'll try to answer them. I am not going to go into all of the policies and procedures that will be in our handbook because there are about 25 pages on COVID and all of the next steps and what happens if and how do we deal with each of the scenarios. But I am going to go into all of the measures that we've taken and the procedures that we're going to use throughout the day. So, reviewing a little bit. When I talked to you in May, we talked about a green plan, which was the students returning back to school with the safety precautions in place. Using the term, I think back then we said the new normal, but that's kind of an overused term at this point because there is nothing new or normal about any of this. The next one was the yellow plan. It's the hybrid schedule, and that would have been some kids coming to school some days and others coming others, so maybe alternate days. We have taken that plan off the table. We've been able to keep our class sizes small and make sure that we have the distancing that needs to happen for our children to be safe while they are at school. The red plan is still in place, and that is that everyone would go virtual. And that would happen if we had a shelter in place, again, put in by the governor. And the Archdiocese would make that decision. That would not be a school-by-school decision. So we talked about those three plans, and today I'm going to focus on the green plan. I showed you this diagram the first time that we talked in May, and I talked a little bit about a lot of documents that come out, and they say they're from the CDC or the health department, but they're actually maybe other versions of something that's been put out. This is the one that was put out early on in May and then put out again just recently. That really is to guide schools in making their decision. And if you look over to the left-hand column first, they say, we should be opening if we have consistent, applicable state and local orders. Well, the orders are that we can open schools. Right now, that is something that we can do. Are we ready to protect our children? Yes, we are, and I believe that we have all the pieces in place as you look at this plan. And are we able to screen students and employees? And we do have those processes in place too. So that moves us to the middle column. Then we can go ahead over to there. It's, do we promote the hygiene practices, the washing of hands when the children enter the room, when they leave the room, throughout the time they're in the room, using the hand sanitizer that's on the table. And I'm going to go through all the ways that we are making sure students have their own individual work products and their work materials. So we have those in place as well, along with the social distancing and training our employees on the health protocols. So that moves us to the right-hand column, and if we can do these things, then we're ready to open and to monitor. And we do have a process in place. We've been using it with summer camp and how we are checking symptoms and talking to children as they get out of the car, asking the questions, taking the employees' temperatures every morning. So those things are in place. We have some rules about staying home when you're sick and when you can come back. Plans for students and employees if they get sick in the quarantine room, which I will go over all of these. But if you go through these and you hear our plan, you'll see that we hit all of the checks in each of these columns. So we believe that we're open and ready to monitor our progress as we go. And your input's important. And knowing that if you see something that's not being followed, that you call us, which we will take care of immediately. So, what can you expect from us? We are going to put every measure in place to make sure that your child's safety will be followed as outlined in this presentation. We will continue to communicate with you on a regular basis as regulations change. And the school is going to comply with the CDC guidelines, the Georgia Department of Education and Public Health, and the guidelines for the Office of Catholic Schools. So you know that we are assuring you that we will follow all of those. At the same time, what we expect from you are a few things. One is we hope that you will remain positive and supportive, especially while in earshot of your children. Right now, our children are going through so much, and there's so much confusion in their lives about what they should be doing, should not be doing. They're hearing your concerns, and so that raises their level of stress and their level of concern. And so what we're hoping is we can be positive in front of them. That we follow school expectations and guidelines. If your child's coming back to school, it's important that you follow those guidelines. If it says that you can't bring your child back for 48 hours after a fever and no medication, then you follow that 48 hours. So we're expecting that you will follow those, which I just said, keeping your children home if they're not feeling well, have a temperature, or exhibiting symptoms of COVID-19. We do expect that you do not send them to school, and we expect that you would not give them any medication to reduce fever or cover up symptoms before bringing them to school. We would like for you to communicate with the school if anybody in your family has travel plans that do not follow the current guidelines recommended by the World Health Organization, the CDC, the state of Georgia, or local Gwinnett County government. If you believe your child has been exposed or a family member is in question of having COVID, please keep your child at home until there is a definite answer on that test. Communicate with the school if there has been a positive diagnosis of COVID-19 in your household, and regularly launder the masks. So those are our expectations as we work together. So what have we done today? We've done quite a bit. I sent out an email this past Friday telling you about the plasma air purifying system. It is installed throughout the building, and if you read the data that I sent home to you, it tells you that it kills 99.4% of the COVID germs within 30 minutes. It's an amazing system. We studied it. We made sure it was the best that we could get to put into the building. We put bottle filling stations in all 3 wings of the building. So students will not have to use the drinking fountain. Drinking fountains should not be used at this time. So what we have done is we put bottle filling stations in the elementary wing, in the intermediate wing, and in the middle school, so that we don't have anybody using water fountains. But we do ask, and I probably say it 3 or 4 times during this presentation, that you make sure your children have water bottles that have a straw in it and not a twist-off top. It tends to cause a lot of challenges in the classroom. We have increased our cleaning service contract. What we have done is we have asked for more cleaning, different types of cleaning, more deep cleaning the restrooms, all common areas, all classrooms every night, and using a much higher grade of disinfectant, cleaner, mildew stat, all of the different types of cleaning products that are still safe for schools and hospitals, but we'll be sure to make sure everything is clean and sanitized every evening. We have increased the number of hand sanitizing stations, and we have made sure that there is hand sanitizer in every classroom, many different opportunities for kids to use hand sanitizing. We do have infrared thermometers that are going to be used at the entrance for all students and adults who enter the building. Whoops. We missed one. We have 5 outdoor spaces, and there were some questions that came up today about the 5 outdoor spaces. These are not classrooms where children will be all day long. These are spaces teachers can use and make reservations to use throughout the day. We put those spaces out there because what we know about the sun and what we know about COVID and it's just in the outdoor air, it's just a safer place to be. So we thought if we could increase the number of spaces available and teachers could use them, that this would help with keeping our children safe. So there's 3 out back and 2 in the front, and teachers can take their children out there to eat lunch. They can take them out there to have class, and there's other areas they can use as well, but these have areas for enough of our children to sit and to be distanced to have a class. We have developed traffic flow patterns that are established and labeled in order to reduce interactions among groups. That's one of the reasons you're going to see that we have 3 drop-off areas. We have it so that no children are going to be passing other groups in the hallway, and all traffic will be flowing in the same direction. All students will receive 2 masks. I thought I brought my mask in here to show you, but they'll receive 2 masks, and they must wear a mask to school daily. We do have a quarantine room. It is available, and it's separate from all students and the nurses station, so that if a child has a fever or what we think might be a contagious disease, that is where they would go. This is to allow us to continue to use the nurse's office for children who may have to take medications on a regular basis or monitor their health and so forth. So we have 2 areas that children can be in at the same time. Parent pickup, we do have an expectation that you will pick up your child within 30 minutes if we call you and say that they have a fever and they're not feeling well or exhibiting any of the symptoms of COVID. And we have a policy in place for return to school. It is a very specific policy, and several of you asked about it. And it has like 5 conditions. The first being at least 72 hours have passed since the recovery, as defined by the resolution of a fever without fever-reducing medications. And if the individual experienced improvement in respiratory symptoms, and at least 10 days have passed since the symptoms first appeared, and the individual has not experienced any symptoms in 48 hours. And there must be a written notification from the doctor. All of that will be in our policy handbook, and I don't think that you really want me to go through all that tonight, but there are specific steps in place for the return to school. And there's policies and procedures in place for students or teachers who test positive and the quarantine time. Right now that is being finalized and put together by our task force and the doctors. So next Wednesday I'll have all of those specific steps ready to be put into the handbook, and then we'll upload the handbook on the website. So those are what we've done in preparing for the health of your children. Now we're going to move to what happens when they come. So we still have extended day before school and after school, and extended day does have a set of procedures in place too to make sure that your children will stay healthy. If you use the morning extended day, you will come to the back of the building where we have had drop-off for the last 3 years. And you will come around to the back of the building and drop them off at the sidewalk that goes up to the cafeteria. And that will be from 7 to 7:20 in the morning. And you notice that's 10 minutes earlier that we're ending extended day, because our children are going to be able to be dropped off that much earlier. So from 7 to 7:20, they'll be seated in tables within their own cohorts or groups that they'll be in throughout the day. And that is $2 a day for you to use if you want to bring your children early. Regular drop-off then is going to start a little earlier. It's going to start at 7:20 and go to 7:45 a.m. And that is to allow you time to be able to get to each of the drop-offs if you have children in different levels within the building. We're going to have 3 separate drop-off areas to avoid large groups of children. If you think, last year we had over 300 children being dropped off at the back gate. And we were able to get all those children dropped off in about 15 to 20 minutes. Now we're going to divide up into 3 different areas so that we can continue to have efficient drop-off while still taking temperatures and keeping children safe. we're going to ask that you drop off the youngest child moving to the oldest child. And you'll see why when I show you the diagram. And it's your responsibility to get here early enough to drop off before 7:50. You'll see there's a 5-minute window there where I said be here by 7:45, and then 7:50 is the deadline. And that is really because teachers like to start teaching right at 7:50 to be able to get the curriculum taught. Middle school will be dropped off in the back of the school at the sidewalk at the cafeteria. Intermediate is by the gate, by the gym on the church side, and primary school's at the front door. So that's a lot to listen to. Let me show you what that looks like. So if you look, the red line is the primary school. You're going to come in off Tom Smith, come over to where the star is, which is the front of the building. There'll be 5 people in place that will be taking temperatures, asking screening questions, and then your child will get out and be walk into the building. If you have a child that's intermediate, then you would take a right. You go down to the yellow line, and you would go in, and you would drop your child off right there by the gym. There'll be 5 people there that'll be standing there taking temperatures, screening children, and getting your children in the building. You go out the parking lot. If you have a middle school child, you take a right, and you go down to the blue line, and you go drop your children off. I know that sounds like a lot, and it's going to be somewhat inconvenient maybe if you have children at different levels. But unfortunately, inconvenience is part of what's going to happen when we think about keeping our children safe. So these are the drop-off points, and we will have adults there doing the screening and making sure they're taking temperatures. But again, we're dividing up our group into 3 groups as opposed to having all children being at one place, which would have taken much longer. So we're hoping it's more convenient, more efficient, and that we take care of your children in the meantime. So the opening of school and drop-off to continue. All students will have their temperature taken, answer survey questions prior to getting out of the car. And this is our mask. All students will have the St. John Newman mask. And each child will get 2 of those. On the first day of school, obviously, they'll wear their own mask and put that in their backpack and put on ours. But if your child is uncomfortable with that mask, you may send them with the white mask or the, am I getting it right, N95 mask if you're more comfortable. But we are going to ask that they're either white or they wear ours. If the students with a temperature of 100 degrees or higher will not be permitted to attend school that day. Students will walk directly to their classroom. So when they come in, they're going to, instead of going to the cafeteria as they have in the past, they'll go right into the classroom so that they are only with that small cohort of children. No parents will be allowed in the building with their children. If you are tardy, that means you arrive after 7:50 and all the people who are taking temperatures, which are mostly volunteers and staff members who have to get to their jobs, you will go to the front door. But here's the difference. You will not enter the building. We have stickers out front to keep you 6 feet apart. You'll wait until you get to the door. A staff member will sign you in, and we'll make sure your child gets their temperature, and we'll send them down to the classroom. This is important. No child will be allowed to enter the building without a parent coming to the door because their safety is our utmost importance. So let's talk about the daytime. What happens during the day? Each student, again, will receive 2 of the masks that are required for them to have each day as they enter school in the hallways and in common areas. Face masks are required in grades 3 to 5 in the classrooms to the extent that it does not interfere with instruction. Students in grades 6 to 8 are to wear their masks in the classroom to the extent possible, meaning they are going to be wearing their masks all day and the teacher will be wearing their mask. The reason for this is the students are going to remain in their cohort in their classroom. The teachers will be changing rooms, and which then that makes the teacher being exposed to every student in the middle school, or in every special be seeing every child in the school. Keeping them safe is important to us as well. So we are going to make sure that they wear their masks. Children in pre-K through 2nd grade, they will have them on the common areas, they'll have them in the hallways and the restrooms. But in the classroom, it's going to be the discretion of the teacher, and if a parent wants a child to wear the mask the full time, they can ask that they wear the mask as well. They do remain in their cohorts to reduce the number of students that they come in contact throughout the day, and they are going to be safely distanced. I did get some questions about the distancing. Because most of our classes, except for 4th and 5th, and I'll talk about them in a minute, are down to about 15 kids in each class or less, our rooms are big enough to keep them distanced. And right now, the CDC says 3 to 6 feet. So we are making sure that they are distanced in the classroom and in outdoor classrooms. We are using alternative spaces for our 4th and 5th grade. 5th grade is going to be in the music room, which is a double classroom, and they can spread them out. And they will have the opportunity to be 4 to 6 feet apart in all of their desks. Teachers have asked, parents have asked, what about groups? Well, I've seen teachers be effective this week where they worked in groups, but the desks were far apart. Even though they're all facing each other, they still kept them 3 to 4 feet apart so they could work in groups and have conversations. They will not be getting together and being head-to-head as they have in the past. The 4th grade will be using the media center, and they will be spread out as well. So we have 2 large rooms in which we will be using as classrooms. Students will remain in the classrooms when specials come to their classes. Oops, I did it again. Sorry. Lunch will be eaten in the classroom. So students will be staying in their classroom, or they will go out to one of the outside learning spaces as a class. SLA is still our provider, and they will deliver lunches to the classroom if your family buys lunches. Outside learning spaces are available for teachers throughout the day for classes, as I said. And if it's raining or if it's not appropriate, they won't take them outside. But we do know that the kids like being out there, and it's creates an environment where we know it's just good for kids to be out getting some outside air. Students will be required to wash their hands throughout the day, and one of the big pieces is we are going to make sure as they leave the classroom they wash their hands, and when they come back in the classroom they wash their hands. It's a little more difficult in some of the upper grades. There is not a sink in the room, so it's the washing the hands is going to have to rely on the kids going to that restroom, washing their hands, and coming back to the classroom and using hand sanitizer as they leave and come back. Each student has their own supplies and books. So as they sit down and they in their pencil pouch, they have everything they need, or they have it sitting there at their spot. And since they're not moving, they have all of their materials will be there for them. And they have their own set of books. If we share books, they will be wiped if necessary, but also for the library, we're going to have a 24-hour quarantine because we have worked with some folks that have looked at different requirements. And if they are put aside and not touched for 24 hours, then we're able to use them again. So we'll be doing that with the books. I'm sure that Miss Bear is going to have a great time sorting through books and keeping them safe for those 24 hours. So the books are theirs, the supply bags are theirs, the books are theirs. Even in the little grades, I watched Miss Travis today. They were using Unifix cubes. She had them all washed and in bags, and they were separated for each child. So we'll make sure that even the materials they're using for different activities will be separated and clean and make sure they're there for your kids. Again, students will need water bottles with straws. Mass. I want to talk a little bit about Mass because it changes the schedule for all of us. In the past, Mass has always been on Thursdays at 9 a.m., and parents have been included in that Mass as well as the community. Well, what we know is that we are too large to be able to go to Mass with the community and still distance our children. So in talking to all of the people that I collaborated with, they felt that going to Mass together as a community was really important. So I talked to Father Sonny, and he was able to make that happen. But to make that happen, we have to move Mass to Friday at 11 a.m. All of our children will fit in there. There will not be any community members in there, so that does open up that 80-some people space to keep all of our kids in there. And unfortunately, parents will not be invited to attend Mass with us, but they are certainly invited to live stream with us, and we'll make sure our Masses are live streamed because celebrating Mass as a community and with you is important to us. Children will wear their Mass uniforms unless they have PE. We will not be changing clothes this year, so they will wear their PE clothes to church on that day if they have PE. And they will have their mask on while they're in Mass. Everybody will wear their masks. So everybody needs to put in their head that Mass is now on Friday at 11, which then makes Fridays our short day. So as you think about our days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday now are 7:45 to 3:15, and Friday is 7:45 to 2 p.m. So we will have the opportunity to have our masses on Friday and our short days on Friday, which I'm sure you guys might like, so that you can leave at 2 to go on 3-day weekends. But just put that into your head. And another schedule change while I'm on this page is not for Mass, but we have pushed back, and I've sent you this information on an email, but I'll just reiterate. Our first day was going to be August 10th, but because the emergency, I'm not sure, a state of emergency goes through the 11th, we had to hold off and start school on the 12th. So we now have school starting on the 12th, and it is a full day of school on the 12th. So, pick up. Let's talk about picking up your children. If you've not been at St. John Neumann and this is your first year, it's an interesting experience, but if you've been here, you guys know. This year, you will have tags for your cars. Every car will have a blue tag that says St. John Neumann Carpool, and every family will get 2. If you have more than 2 people in your family picking up children, you can get additional tags, but everybody who regularly picks up your child needs to have a tag, because they will not be allowed in the parking lot without the tag, so that we are sure that they are from your family and related to your child. So the way we're going to do the dismissal in the afternoon is that at 3:10, we'll say our prayers, we'll end our day, and all the children who will go to extended day will go down to EDP. They won't come down like a thundering herd, though. They will be dismissed very carefully so that they are staggered in the hallway, and when they go to EDP, they will still stay in their grade level groups so that we are keeping them healthy and keeping their cohorts together. And that way we avoid that crowding in the hallways. At 3:15, every single teacher will be going to the parking lot. They will lead their students out of the building to the parking lot. You will be in the parking lot already where you have been told to park. We'll have staff out on the parking lot and hopefully volunteers who will be guiding traffic and getting you parked. And once you're parked and you hear the bell ring, you will get out of your car and stand next to your car. That way your child sees you and they will come to you instead of you coming to them, and that way we avoid the crowds again. If you have a kindergartner, though, you will go over to Miss Travis or Miss Romer and you'll pick up your child, because this first year they just need a little guidance until they're sure of what they're doing. So they will go out to the car. Once all of those children are with you in your car safely there, we've checked, and all of our staff see everybody is in their car safely, the first batch of cars will go out. The children who have not gone to their cars will be in designated areas with their teacher. So every class, KA, KB, 1A, 1B, will have their own space that they stand in. The children will go back to that space, wait until the second flight of cars comes in, and then they will be released to their cars. After that, they will go back and see if there's any children whose cars have not shown up, they will stand with their teacher, and if there's not a third set of cars, there's not enough cars or there's nobody there, we'll then take your children up to extended day. If you're new to the school, please know that we will never leave your children out back by themselves, that we will take them up to extended day, they'll get a snack, they'll get to participate until you get there, so you don't have to worry, because Atlanta traffic sometimes can be really challenging. So your children will be taken care of. So that is how the end of the day will work. All children are getting picked up in the same area, but they're going out, and they're going out in an organized way and standing in separate groups. The extended day program, many of you are probably wondering, what are they going to do with extended day? Well, Ms. Rudebeck has a process in place too, and they will also make sure that the safety of your children is the most important. They will keeping the distancing, and they will be keeping them in cohorts as much as they can. So that is how the end of the day will work. So if you have not been in our carpool line before and you saw the diagram before, this is pickup. Everybody comes into the back. Everybody parks. We go in flights. Mr. Mueller would be there to direct traffic, and all the staff will be out helping with dismissal. So this is the way we pick up in the back of the building. So you, volunteers, we desperately need you still. Even though I said you're not welcome in the building, I don't mean you're not welcome. We need you. And like every year, this year, your hours may look different, like everything else this year. We will continue the mandatory volunteer program, but it will be reduced to 10 hours per family. We will use very few volunteers in the building during the school hours to reduce the number of people interacting in the school while the restrictions are in place. But what we need you for are some really important positions. One is carpool in the morning. And already I want to thank some folks who have called and said, I'll be there. I'll be there every day. You know, getting a cohort of parents who can be there every day so we reduce the number of people the children are being exposed to is an amazing gift. So thank you. So if you're dropping off your child every morning and you have a few extra minutes, think about maybe being one of our volunteers. This is being there from 7:20 to 7:49, actually 7:50, and you would have a designated place, whether it's the primary, intermediate, or middle school drop-off, where you are taking temperature or screening children and getting them into the building. We need help with recess duty, and that is, again, hopefully people who can be consistent and be there on a regular basis, maybe a day a week or a day a month, where we can set up volunteers. Our teachers are going to be working harder than ever. We're asking them not only to be teaching at school, but to be doing some of the virtual learning as well. And those are two massive jobs. And I know they can do an amazing job. I feel bad that we're putting that pressure on them, but this is the way it has to be right now. So we need some help on recess duty to give them a break, because they're with the kids in the classroom all day long. And so after the kids eat lunch, if we have parents on the playground that they can help them, they will go out and be with them on the playground. We do have rules in place for the playground. Many of you have asked about that. And we can't guarantee that we can keep them 6 feet apart. We're going to try our hardest when they're out playing and being on the playground, but they need to be out there getting sun. And as I have said many times, if you know me, getting out and moving and using those large muscles is a time for children to embed the learning they've had throughout the day. So we're not going to take that away. We just have to figure out, and we're still working on what that will look like. We need your help with the Home and School Association. We need room parents. We need retreat and service project parents, event coordinators, day of volunteers, fundraising, and teacher appreciation. There are so many opportunities to participate, and we need your help to make this the best school year possible. If you're interested in that, we have a couple people you can call. You could call Trey Scott, who is our president of our HSA. You could call Sandrea Patton, who is in charge of our volunteers, and we can get that information out to you. Carpool in the afternoon. If you're picking your child up anyway, perhaps you might want to volunteer at carpool. We need help with people who will park cars, get the parents into the parking spots they need to be in, guiding kids to cars, making sure all cars are shut and children are in cars and it's safe to move forward. So we need consistency with these positions. If possibly you want to do a day a week, a day a month, whatever it might be, daily, we'll take your help. Advisory council. Our advisory council and our committees can always use help. Our advisory council has been invaluable to me. They have been a sounding board. They have given me great advice. They are able to let me know when things need to be changed. They hear the pulse of the community. So we need people to be on our advisory council and our committees, our mission effectiveness committee, our building committee, our technology, marketing, enrollment. There's lots of committees to get involved in. So if you're interested in committee work, it's ongoing, and it really does have a voice in the work that we do here at the school. Clubs and after-school activities. If possible, there are some clubs that teachers think can be held virtually, and we might still go forward those. Of course, we need your help as a parent to be there with your child if they're participating. Otherwise, we will not be having clubs after school. So don't think that you get away with no volunteering, because we need you, and we need you desperately to be a part of our community. So students in need of home learning. I'm just going to say before I get to these points, we believe children need to be in school. The opportunity to be here, to be interacting, to see and feel and touch the environment, to have the autonomy of being in a place that's theirs and they can feel safe in, is important. But we also understand there's children that are fragile or are living in homes where there are people whose health is fragile. So if your child needs to remain at home for the full learning environment, we must be notified by July 25th. This option's not a part-time option. I think somebody asked that. Can they come some days and not days? No. This is an option. Either they stay at home and they are at home working that whole time, or they're at school. And the reason being is this is really hard on teachers, first of all, to do both, but then to keep track of who's coming, who's not coming is even more difficult. So it is either a choice that you make to be at home learning, or is it full learning? And it's really, we're hoping that you choose this only if your child is fragile or there's a need in the family for this. If your child's doing home learning, they do have to wear their uniform to participate because they're going to be on Zoom with the classroom. We have those great clear touch boards, and they're going to be able to see the class, and the class is going to be able to see them, and so they have to be in their uniforms while they're participating. Our teachers create plans, as they always do. They create amazing lesson plans, and they will be creating a schedule of the times that your child will log into class and be on class live and do live streaming with them. They will also create a schedule for independent work in which we will need your help with them if they're in 5th grade or below, probably to help them with that work. You will be expected to pick up a learning packet each week at the school, and if they're in 3rd through 8th grade, we'll probably be setting up times for you to bring them to Reynolds Hall, which is not connected to the school, and it will be sanitized, and they will be in there by themselves with a proctor to take tests or exams. Students who are ill, if your student is coming to school on a regular basis and they're part of the regular school day, they're not expected to be on the online learning if they're ill that day, because if they're that sick, we don't really expect them to have to be online. But if your child has to be quarantined, if we have a situation in which a class has to be quarantined or a child has to be quarantined, then yes, they would participate in the distance learning with their class. We have purchased new cameras and sound systems so that the sound and visual of being in the classroom is going to be so much more refined. Unfortunately, that's being bought by the CARES Act money, and that has not been unencumbered. So those won't get here until September. In the meantime, we have smaller cameras, but we'll still be able to do this work. But I just want you to know that for the first month, it might be a little bit less high quality than it will be throughout the rest of the year. We'll be using our learning management system. You've heard me talk about Schoology. We've already had one of our first professional developments using it. It is an online learning system that you will log into. You have one log-on. Everything you need to do is on there. You can log on, and we will be doing that at our mandatory parent meeting. And you'll be getting on there and seeing how it works and being able to navigate through it. But it's an amazing system the teachers are using to build their lessons. And if your child is at home learning, they won't have to get on anything else but Schoology to do all of the work that they'd be doing. So we're excited about that. And that'll be using the classroom as well. So their lessons and so forth are being developed on that right now as we use it in school or for distance learning. Just so you know, we have a mandatory parent meeting, which would have been our first day of school, August 10th at 9 a.m. And the reason we're having this is because this is the parent meeting that I normally have day one of school. We'll do a welcoming, a beginning of the year prayer, and then I will present the theme for the year. I'll introduce you to the new faculty so you can see them face to face on Zoom on this meeting, and you'll see who they are and you can recognize them as staff. We'll have an overview video where you watch and find out what is Schoology all about that actually takes you through and navigates your process through that. You'll log on to Schoology, and I'll have a class that you'll get into and you'll participate in so you can feel what it feels like. I'll take you through the calendar, where the assignments are, where you can see what your child has been assigned, what they've turned in, and what is still missing, so it's all right there for you, and how to locate their grades. We will still be using RenWeb. RenWeb is still our student information system, and their grades will be there as well because this system integrates with RenWeb. But this is be a one-stop for everybody as far as what they're doing in class, what they need to do, and getting their assignments done. We will also review policies and procedure changes from the handbook, and we'll go over some of these policies that I talked about today that we're working on with the Archdiocese. We'll review the required forms, and hopefully all of you will have everything uploaded for your required forms will be done, and all our beginning of the year things will be over by the time that meeting ends. So I'm looking forward to that meeting being one where we really get a lot done and you feel empowered that you know exactly what you're doing with Schoology and you're ready to help your children throughout the year. So now is the time for some questions and comments, and I have some lovely assistants with me today. Christy Scott and Anna Abbott, our new enrollment specialist. Our director is here, and they are going to be reading the questions out loud so you can hear them, and then I will address the questions. I think I've addressed quite a few of the questions that were sent earlier today, and if I haven't, we'll read those out loud.
Are the masks 2-ply?
Yes, the masks are 2-ply.
Have all the staff been tested?
The staff have not all been tested, and I'm not going to require the staff to be tested unless they show symptoms of showing any of the symptoms of COVID. I don't think that's a good use of resources to have them tested at this time.
Will the Archdiocese offer reduced or discounted tuition due to students learning virtually from home?
The tuition will not be reduced. Right now, our enrollment looks very good. We're at about 290 kids. I did project quite a bit higher, and I'm hoping that we continue to raise our enrollment. And we actually have had quite a few people from DeKalb coming in and looking because they want their children in school, looking at our school this week. So the thing is that our teachers are working really hard, and we're asking them to work even harder this year. And to be able to pay their salaries, pay our bills, put the outside classrooms in, put the plasma purifying system in, all of that is quite costly. And to be able to meet our bills, our tuition pays for that. So we have to keep our tuition as it is. There won't be any reduction for folks who are at home paying less tuition.
What is the protocol for taking temperatures? Will it be done throughout the day or only in the morning?
The protocol for taking temperatures happens in the morning. It happens while the child is still in the car. The adult that's there will ask them a few questions, and they'll take their temperature, and if it's below 100, they can come out into school. But we don't take it throughout the day because kids are running around, some are outside. It affects the temperature, so we take it at the beginning of the day. At the end of the day, you can check it. In fact, we hope you do so that you're keeping track of your child's temperature, but we won't be doing it other than the beginning of the day.
What is the protocol for if a student or staff member of the school tests positive for COVID in terms of other staff and students at their potential exposure?
Okay, that's a great question. And like I said earlier, that's one of those that we're working through, having the step-by-step that we can put in place for you. But rest assured, we will communicate, we'll make sure that you have the information, and we will follow the procedures to keep your children safe. So if there needs to be a 14-day quarantine, if there needs to be a cleaning of the classroom, all of those things we put in place to make sure your children are safe and that your children get the education they need to get.
Will the meet and greet for new students still happen?
At this point, we're looking at doing the meet and greets. We're continuing to look at doing that on the 5th. But we're looking at doing it outside, out back, and it will be the new families and one parent and a student from the mentor families, and spreading them out and having that conversation, wearing masks, having some fun with them, and showing us how to have fun at 6 feet apart. So we are planning on having it on the 5th because we have lots of families who really want the opportunity for their children to see the school, feel school, get to know somebody before they actually walk into the school. And making our children feel comfortable but keeping them safe is important for us.
If a child starts off in person and needs to switch to virtual because of circumstances, is that an option?
Absolutely. If your child starts in school and something happens, somebody tests positive in your family, or something happens and they become fragile for some reason and they need to go to distance learning, absolutely. Your child is the most important thing, and we're going to do what needs to happen for them.
Will the children have normal socialized opportunities?
We hope so. We hope that's part of coming back to school, is that they have normal socializing opportunities, that there's times that they get to visit and talk, even though they may be sitting 6 feet apart. We've all done it. All of you have visited with friends, and you know how to distance, and we're going to teach our children, and I'm sure you have taught your children already, but they'll have times to talk, to play, to laugh with each other, and have social interactions.
Will students be required to wear masks during PE?
Wearing masks during PE. If we're outside, most likely not. But one of the things that we've learned from the CDC is children really don't need to wear them outside as long as they're still staying distant. The sun kills the COVID, and as well as having that outdoor air, but also it's extremely hot. And so I'm guessing, I'm not guessing, I'm saying most likely not. I will talk with Miss Batten about what she expects for that as well. But if they're inside, yes.
Can we buy the SJN mask?
Yes, we have more SJN masks available. We've ordered more masks, so if you want to make sure your children have more than two, or if you yourself want one, you can get one. We suggest you put your name in it, though, because they all look exactly the same. And your children's name are in all of yours. We've already done that. But if you buy one for yourself, please make sure you put your name in it.
If the mask is uncomfortable to breathe, is the shield possible to wear?
If they're in 3rd through 5th grade, they do have to wear a mask, and they can wear a different one. Like I said, they can wear a N95 or one that comes out further from their face, so they don't have to wear the ones that we're giving out. But the shield does not do the same thing as the mask, so we still have to wear the masks.
Will a tutor be able to come to school and tutor students after classes are completed?
We'll still have tutoring after school. We'll still have our Title I tutoring, or if you have private tutoring, yes, we can still do that in the building. We just need to talk about how they move to that tutor's classroom and where that tutor will be, so we can make sure everything is sanitized.
Will we be able to get some regular practice or get familiar with Schoology program throughout the year should we suddenly find ourselves having to go back to online classes?
So, as I said, we're actually learning Schoology now. So your teachers are learning it now so that they will have the expertise they need to be able to use it. Your children will be logging on from the first day they get to school, and you will be actually logging on before school starts so that we can make sure everybody has an opportunity to learn what it is and how it's used. Now, will you be using it much before the August 10th? No, because it's being set up and we're getting everything in place and the teachers are getting their lessons together. So, but we will make sure that you've had the opportunity to log on, to look through it, and to practice in my classroom as I guide you, so you can feel what it feels like to use it. So when your child has to use it, you're familiar.
When a child is sent home for 14 days, how about homework, assignments, and tests?
If a child is sent home for 14 days, they will immediately go right to the distance learning, and their expectations will be the same as anybody else on distance learning. They'll be participating in class. They will be doing live streaming in class. They will be expected to participate and finish their assignments and to take now, will they come to Reynolds Hall to take their exam? No. They'll be taking their exams from home, or their tests.
To clarify, will students in primary be wearing masks in the classroom all day?
In primary classes, if you as a parent want your child to wear a mask all day, you can request that. But otherwise, or if the teacher needs them to wear that because they're fragile, they can ask the children to wear them. But most of the time they won't be, because they're learning to read, they're learning to speak, they're learning to learn the sounds, and so we need to see their mouths and see what's going on as they're learning.
Will 8th grade still go on their yearly 3-day retreat?
It is our hope that the 8th grade will go on the retreat. It's when they go on it is the question, so maybe it'll be later in the year. We have talked with Hidden Lakes, and they are doing camps right now. They are spreading children out and they're taking smaller groups and spreading them out, and they're not sharing rooms. And they're doing activities in ways that they can distance, and they've had some success with that. I mean, they've been very successful. Hidden Lakes has been. And they're hoping that we can do it in October. We are looking at whether that's safe or not, and we'll make that decision. But if we don't, we'll do it in the spring. The 8th grade will get their opportunity to have their 3-day retreat.
Will middle school still have families, or will they be cohorted by grade again?
Unfortunately, we are not going to have families. We wanted to have families. The kids wanted to have families. But if we have families, then they're mixing together across grades, and they're changing classrooms more often. So we are going to be in cohorts of 8A, 8B, 7A, 7B, 6A, 6B, and staying within their class throughout the day, which leads me to answering a question about lockers. The middle school will not be using lockers this year, at least as we begin the year. Maybe at Christmas or beginning of the second semester, we can start using lockers, but the space between lockers and above and below, it just does not lend itself to be giving us the safety that we need. So each class will take their materials into their class, and since they're in there all day long, they will have a space for their materials in the classroom.
For pre-K, do they also need a cup with a straw? And when we do pick up, we go to the teacher?
Okay, good question for pre-K, and I'm sorry I didn't address this. Pre-K, yes, you need a water bottle. Everybody needs a water bottle with a straw, one that maybe snaps up that you can use. And we have a little bit different dismissal for pre-K. They get dismissed a little bit early. They get dismissed at 2:50 so that they can come out to the front door and be put into their car and into their car seats, so that it's a little bit different dismissal. And I'll write a letter to the pre-K teacher parents, letting them know exactly what that looks like.
Can the home learning be only until December, or does it have to be the whole year?
The home learning can be till December, and then hopefully maybe we all move back to being here at school and there is not need for home learning. That would be my goal. But yes, you could do a half a year of home learning and then bring them back if we continue with home learning.
Can they bring or wear a disposable mask in case they lose theirs or their mask gets dirty?
Absolutely. You can bring or wear, they can wear, like I said, if they need to wear or they're more comfortable in the disposable mask and it's white, they can do that. That's not a problem. And I think it's a great idea, because if theirs gets dirty or they lose it, yeah, they have a backup. We do have some processes in place so that they won't lose them, and if they take them off when they're going outside, what they do with them and so forth. So we have thought through that as well.
How many students will be in a cohort?
It varies. In the preschool, there's 14. In kindergarten, there's 15. So each grade is a little bit different, but it's about 14 to 15 in any cohort until we get to middle school, and then it's 16 to 17 in each cohort.
Can you email us this presentation?
This presentation actually will be up on YouTube, and it's recorded. It's there, and you can go back and watch it. So you can go and see it anytime that you'd want to see it.
Will kids wear masks while singing during mass and during music class?
So this is the thing that probably makes me the saddest, is that we won't be singing. One of the things from the CDC is that singing does spread the germs the most. So for the first quarter, they've asked that we don't participate in singing, that we learn music theory, we do clapping, we do rhythms, we use percussion kind of instruments, and so they won't be singing. Now in mass, there might be a cantor, a student from the liturgical choir that cantors with Miss Buckley, but they will be wearing masks, yes.
N95 mask with a valve only protect the wearer. Surgical masks and cloths aid in preventing. What about student awareness to avoid touching their face?
We will be working with, and one of the things that we'll be doing is during our pre-service with teachers, working through all of the safety guards and how to talk with the kids, work with the kids, get them used to this, because this is different for them. And that will be one of the things we talk about, is how do we work with our kids about keeping their hands off their faces.
When will we have information on what recess expectations for students and parent volunteers look like?
After we get done with our meeting next Wednesday with the Archdiocese, I should have those ready, and I could print them out and get them out to you.
Is there any sport activities throughout the year?
Right now, there are not any sports that are taking place. Volleyball was canceled. And because we weren't sure whether we were going to have to use our gym as a classroom, that was something we had considered doing, but we have other spaces that work. So volleyball has been canceled for the fall. And right now, we're looking at, looking forward and thinking about if we can do any of the other sports. That's up to the Catholic, the CLMA, and that's not part of the school. So we're keeping our eye on that, and we'll let you know exactly what they say as soon as we get a ruling from them.
Will we have to fill out a form for home learning for fall, or will we just be emailing this decision?
You will be emailing me your decision by the 25th. At that time, I will then create and make sure we know who exactly is going to be doing home learning, so we know which teachers are going to be supporting your children. So it's an email to me on the 25th, by the 25th, of whether your child is going to be doing home learning or not.
Will the mask available for purchase be child size or adult size?
Well, it depends what you need. So we have both. We have the child size, which we are giving to children in pre-K to second grade. And then we have the adult, which is we're using from 3rd to 8th grade. And I personally use the adult one myself. So it depends who you're buying it for.
Will students be required to bring lunch from home indefinitely, or will they have the option to purchase lunch? Will students eat lunch in classroom?
Okay, as I said earlier in the presentation, that our SLA, which is our food service company, will be here. They will be offering a menu that can be delivered to the classroom. So you can make a choice of whether you want to buy lunch or you want to send lunch for your child, but they will be eating in the classroom, at least for the first semester.
How many students will be in a single classroom?
So that's the same question about the cohort, which is, it's a little bit, it varies a little bit, but anywhere from 14 to 19 children. Okay, we're hitting on the 8 o'clock hour. And so I had said our meeting goes from 7 to 8. And a lot of great questions. And if we didn't answer your question, we will certainly try to answer. We will get that answered in a Q&A, and we'll type those up and put them on the website. Ms. Wilson has set up a COVID page on the website, so we will have a lot of the information that's been said tonight on that page, as well as answer the other questions that we might not have answered. And as soon as I get the information on Wednesday regarding the exact processes that we'll use, I'll get that up there as well and around recess. If you're interested in volunteering, please let me know. We are really looking for those morning and afternoon and recess volunteers. So if you're interested in doing that, we need you. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate your support and your belief in who we are and who our staff is, and the fact that having a Catholic education is so important to you, and it's important to us as well. So thank you for all you do. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for being the great parents that you are. Have a good evening.